Again I confirm. Yogeshwaraya Bhuta Bhuta Bhuteshwaraya Kala Kala Kaleshwaraya Shiva Shiva Sarveshwaraya Shambho Shambho It's okay. Over 15,000 years ago, a being appeared in the upper regions of Himalayas. No one knew who he was, where he came from. The origins of this spectacular being were unknown. When his ecstasy allowed him some movement, he danced wildly. When intensity peaked, he became utterly still. People saw that he was experiencing dimensions that no one had ever known or able to fathom. His ecstasy and intensity allowed him to transcend his physical form. Witnessing an individual human in union with the cosmos, they called him a yogi, as he was the first one, the Adi Yogi. When his stillness lasted for years on end, curious onlookers melted away. Only 7 seekers remained, as they could not tear themselves away from him. He transmitted the profound science of yoga in its full depth and dimension. He expounded 112 methods of attainment, offering his disciples access to the deepest innards of creation. In this magnificent state of yoga, many mysteries of the created and the uncreated cascaded upon his unbridled wild hair. It was a vision of the very core of the cosmos in all its profundity and magnificence, a vision of the unfathomable mysteries of the universe, a most overwhelming vision the sages and Devi Parvati had ever witnessed. Devi Parvati, seeing Adiyogi reveling in ecstatic states, said, "I want to have what you have. Show me the way." Adiyogi absorbed her and made her a part of himself, and hence he is the Ardhanari, the ideal man, where one half of him is woman. Seeing the splendor of this magnificent union, Ghanas, his constant companions, asked, "What about us?" Adiyogi said, "Just drink of me," which drove them into intoxicated raptures. Seven sages, the Saptarishis, took the sacred science of yoga in all its forms to human habitations across the planet, which turned into crucibles of civilization. This spectacular being is not of the past, but the future of humanity. To move humanity from hallucinations of ups and downs to nameless ecstasies of one's interiority. Mahadevaya Namaha, Mahadevaya Namaha, Mahadevaya Mahadevaya Namaha.
Each year, ladies and gentlemen, we try to have an interactive session, and we have received some questions from our viewers online and would like to request Sadhguru to address a few. We begin with the first question that came from Dr. Swatantra from Kashi. What is Sanatan Dharma?
Jaya 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 Mahadeva. Jaya 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 Mahadeva. Shiva Shankar Adi Anant. Shiva Shankar Adi Anant. Jaya Jaya Jaya. Jaya Jaya. Jaya Jaya. Jaya 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 Mahadeva. Jaya 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 Mahadeva. Wow! What is Sanatan Dharma? Let's understand these two words. Sanatana means eternal. Dharma means, not as it is being interpreted today, dharma means the law, that which rules. Sanatana Dharma literally means that framework of principles or laws which rule life eternally. There are certain things which are seasonal. There are certain things which are generational. There are certain things which belong to different eras. But there is certain aspect of life which is for always, certain framework, certain laws which are for always. So today, maybe particularly in the political atmosphere, it is being seen as a certain identity. Sanatana means eternal. How can something be eternal unless it's all-inclusive? If something has to be eternal, it has to be all-inclusive, there is simply no other way. This and that cannot be eternal. Only that which embraces everything can be eternal. Many aspects of our lives are transitional, but there are some aspects of our life which are eternal. If you recognize and realize the eternal laws or the Sanatana Dharma of your life, I want you to understand this not as a cultural identity, but as a fundamental to our existence. Those laws, the framework which governs the fundamentals of our existence, this is Sanatana Dharma. A culture which invested heavily in this direction, a culture which made ultimate freedom or liberation or mukti or moksha or nirvana and many other names, which made that the main principle of life, got identified as Sanatana Dharma. That means our fundamental goal is ultimate. On the side we do many things. People have businesses, people have families, people have careers, people have this and that, pleasures, fads and compulsions. All these are side business. This culture invested itself in such a way, the main fundamental focus of this life is ultimate liberation or moksha. So this culture got the identity of Sanatana Dharma because there are many longings within a human being. When you're a little child, lollipop is the highest longing. As you grow up, it changes. When you are 12, 15, one thing, 18, 20, another thing, 30, 35, another thing. But if you examine your life carefully, if you look at the nature of your desiring very carefully, you will see the longing is to expand. Whatever you have, whatever you may be in your life, you still want to be something more. If that something more happens, you want to be something more. If that happens, you want to be something more. If you really look at it, you want to become limitless. This is the longing that the very nature of how human being is made is such that something within us does not like boundaries. Something within us wants to become boundless. If it finds an unconscious expression, if it finds a very physical expression, we call this sexuality. If it finds a mental expression, it gets labeled as ambition, desire, conquest, or maybe simply shopping. If it finds an emotional expression, we call this love. All these are longings to be something more than what you are right now. If it finds a conscious expression, we call this yoga. So in one way, I know some won't like it, but I'm not standing for election, so So in some ways, what you are recognizing as Sanatana Dharma, as a culture, is a mass application of yogic sciences. When you want to apply a profound science to a whole population, it needs to go through a certain amount of transformation. So that transformation today generally getting identified as Sanatana Dharma. But the most important aspect is that Sanatana Dharma means you are not caught up with the immediate needs of the day. Your focus is always pitched towards the ultimate goal of life. Day-to-day things you'll handle it to the best of your ability, but that does not determine the quality of your life. The longing that you have to become free, the longing to become one with everything. When you say free, you want to become free from your individual nature. In a way, you want to become free from your own existence so that you become one with everything. That's why I said, nothing can be eternal unless it's all-inclusive. Sanatana Dharma, the only way forward, if you ask me. Not as a religion, not as an individual culture, not your culture versus my culture, but at some point, if human beings don't look beyond their individual and immediate needs and look for the ultimate well-being of who they are and what everything else is around us, well, there'll be no solution. But today, the world is moving in this direction. They may not be calling it Sanatana Dharma, but in many ways the world is moving in this direction. How is it moving? See, one thing that's happening is nearly 42% of European population these days are saying they have no religion. 32 to 33% of the US population is saying they have no religion. A similar percentage in UK is saying they have no religion. Actually, it is 36 to 37% in UK. So, except in the developed part of the world, largely people are saying no religion. What this means is, the structures that were built up there in the sky, or to put it simply, the heavens are collapsing in people's minds. Nobody wants to go to heaven anymore. I have seen this in the last 40 years. This year is going to be 40 years since I started teaching. So, in these 40 years, what I have seen is, about 20 years ago, at least in the Western societies, if you asked a group of people, how many of you want to go to heaven? 80% of the hands would go up. Today, if you go and ask a group of people, let's say 1,000 people are there, you ask them, how many of you want to go to heaven? Very hesitantly, very shy and embarrassed, 2-3 hands will go up. Rest of them say no. The young people don't want to go to heaven because whatever the old marketing machine which has been telling you what is there in heaven is not attractive to them. They're asking, is there free Wi-Fi? Hello? You want free Wi-Fi in heaven? So because of this, in people's minds, heavens are collapsing. When heavens collapse, what will fill the gap? The immediate gap will be filled by alcohol, drugs and other things because people are trying to make something out of their life. But they will tire of that. The more intelligent will look beyond that. Those who indulge also will get tired of it after some time, but it'll take its toll, unfortunately. Then what is it? Then people will look for the science of well-being. That is what he stands for. This is why I said, Adiyogi is not of the past, but a phenomenon of the future. Though it was well over 15,000 years ago, what he offered is a scientific, technological solution for the subjectivity of the human being. Not philosophy, not ideology, not belief system, not tickets to heaven, but the science of subjective well-being of the human being. Though millennia, so many millenniums have passed, never before human societies were really ready to address their subjectivity scientifically. Only now, this generation and the coming generations are for the first time beginning to think logically. This is the first time that such a large mass of people beginning to think logically. We may think they're thinking wrong, it doesn't matter, but at least they're thinking for themselves. Otherwise, in the previous generations, they were not allowed to think, especially ladies. You must appreciate the times because just 100, 200 years ago, you were not supposed to think at all. If you did think for yourself, you would get punishment for that. In this culture, it was not so much so, but in the rest of the world, it was very much so. Women were not supposed to think for themselves. So, women are beginning to think for themselves. What it means is, straight away, 50% of the world's population has come into thinking process. So that's not a small thing. And now that people are thinking for themselves, once you think, however crazy you think somebody is thinking, there is a logical process to their thought process. So now, seeking solutions, even subjective solutions, in a more logically correct way or a scientific manner will naturally come forth. When this happens, Adiyogi becomes super significant because he's already ready with his tools, 112 ways. So, this is Sanatan Dharma as a science. As a culture, it functions differently. We don't have to impose our culture on anybody. But science is not an imposition, science is a solution. So in many ways, the future of the world is in Sanatan Dharma, but don't try to rub it on them saying that you must take up my culture, not necessary. The important thing is they look for ultimate well-being, not for immediate well-being. That is Sanatan Dharma.
Sadhguru, you say that you are always stoned.
What is that? I'm sorry?
But you look more stoned than usual on MahaShivRatri. What's happening with you, Sadhguru? Asks Iliad from Lebanon.
These Lebanese people. It's not legal in Lebanon, that's why. Not yet. What, everybody's falling asleep, so I'm coming there for you. Some Lebanese lady is accusing me that I'm more stoned than usual. I want to show you I'm doing fine, huh? Haven't I awake enough, alert enough? See there, from Lebanon, somebody is saying I'm more stoned than usual. Well, see, when we were designing Adiyogi's face, it took me over 2.5 years to get it right. What is it that was so complex about it? We wanted to get stillness, exuberance and intoxication in one face. Do you think we've somewhere close there? So why is intoxication important? Because if you are not intoxicated, you will die of stress. Yes, that's what I was telling you. There is scientific research to show that the cannabinoids or endocannabinoids produced in the body are up 70% for somebody who's just started Shambhavi Mahamudra. Don't ask me what is my percentage. 70% high means, as I said earlier, it is much higher than what happens even in a sexual intercourse. It's much higher than that. Just sitting here, you're blissed out. This is how you become free. Not by denial that you become free. You become free because just sitting here is just so fantastic. Just being alive and breathing is so absolutely blissful, you don't have to do anything else, you're just fine. So, what is special about this day? As we have told you 1,000 times, there is a natural upsurge. When there is a natural upsurge, one thing is you must become exuberant. Hello, hello, hello. You must you must become exuberant. Hello? Exuberance of life. Exuberance of life is wonderful, but if there is no stability, it'll become madness. So, you must become still. You must have the capacity to sit still. I'm sure you can do that. And you need to be little intoxicated, otherwise you can't do these crazy things, hello. So these three things need to happen. Today the situation is good, so I'm making the best use of it. I want you to make use of this too, hello? To be exuberant, whoa, whoa, whoa! To be still and intoxicated. Let's make it happen.
Sadhguru, Shiva used to ride on Nandi. If Shiva was here today amongst us, what would he ride? Asks Sarah from Dehradun.
See, unfortunately, because these things were all not probably, definitely it came either from UK or from Europe at one time. So the power of an engine is measured in horsepower. If it was in India, we would have said bull power. So you know what he would ride.
Iyad from Lebanon asks, Shiva is the destroyer. Why do we worship the destroyer? Isn't this anti-life?
Why is this Lebanese girl after me like this? Well, in Lebanon you're just recovering from winter just now, still on. Well, most of the leaf from the tree is down, most trees are bare. If these leaves, which have done their business, if they don't come down, do you think fresh leaf can come up? If… I will spare your grandfather, if your great-great-grandfather still around, would you be here? No. So, the process of life is sustainable only because it is an ongoing cycle of creation, maintenance, destruction. If you get attached to your present existence the way you are, you don't want to get old, you want to get Botoxed. You don't want to look old, what's the problem? Hey, what's the problem with me? You don't want to get old, you don't want to die. It's important. As we are born, when we were children, we were longing to grow up. When we become adults, why are we hesitating to become old and die one day? Because this is the nature of life. If this cycle is broken, there shall be no life. Let me tell you a little story. Can I tell you a story? I'm asking your permission because for most people, if I say once upon a time, they think it's bedtime. This happened not so long ago. A rich man, a rich family built a nice new house. It is part of the culture here that when you build a new house, generally in the rest of the world, they will party, they'll get drunk and get sick on the second day of going into their new house. But here, they will invite a sage, a seer or a yogi to come and bless their house. So, they invited a yogi. He arrived, he's a yogi. But They welcomed him like a king. They did all the best things that they can do to a guest, fed him well. Then time to leave is coming. So both husband and wife came, prostrated themselves in front of the yogi, and then they said, please give us a blessing. Yogi raised his hands and said, first let your father die, then you die, then your children die. They said, what? We welcomed you, treated you like a king, and you're telling me my father should die, I should die, my children should die? The yogi was bewildered. Did I say something wrong? What is this nonsense? You're asking all of us to die. I said, I'm not asking you to die. You're anyway dying short. Hello? Are you all dying short? Yes. Right now full of life, but dying short. When you are the dying sort, isn't it best that first your father dies? If you die before him, that's not good. If our children die before us, that is not at all good. Hello? So first father dies, then I die, then my children die. Everything is natural order of things, perfect. Hello? So, that is why the destroyer, he must come at the right time. He should not come too early or too late.
Lokesh from Delhi asks Sadhguru, Himalayas and Kashi are more closely associated with Shiva. Instead of those places, why did you choose southern India to establish Adiyogi and celebrate MahaShivRatri?
And not everything you choose, some things choose you. Hello, both of you? This Lebanese lady has a lot of questions, let me answer. So, why Velangiri Hills? Not my choice. Probably I've said this many times, but you know, she's Lebanese. She's not heard me. Well, right from my infancy, I always had a mountain peak in my eyes. In the of my vision, always a mountain peak. This'll sound crazy, because till I became 16 years of age, I thought there are mountain peaks in everybody's eyes, because it was always there. When I am awake and asleep, it was always there. When I was around 16, you know, that's when you really start talking. Then I realized nobody has mountains in their eyes, just me. So I started trekking. I trekked Western Ghats, almost every peak. In these 1700 kilometers from Karwar to Kanyakumari, I did 11 times. And climbed every peak. Then I realized I'm not finding it, it's somewhere else. Then thinking it could be, because everybody in India was talking about Himalayas. So when I was 19, for the first time, I went to Himalayas. The moment I saw those peaks, I know it's not there, because they are very different in their structure. But from the age of 19, 27 years, every year I trekked in Himalayas. So you're asking, why am I not feeling cold? That's why. because I'm internally air-conditioned, both, cold, hot. So, we went on looking for the mountain. After some time, it's almost like I'm not going to find it. In 1987, for the first time, I landed in Coimbatore and I just got off a night bus at around 3:45 in the morning and it just blew me away. I just sat in a place and lost myself for almost an hour and a half. Then I knew it's somewhere here and we started looking. I found it in 1993. I saw the peak, probably you have not seen from here. If you go a couple of kilometers this way or this way, you will see the seventh hill. Once I saw that peak, the peak in my eyes disappeared and I knew this is the place. At that time, there were no roads, simply not approachable. We just… an open piece of land. I just said, this is the place. We didn't know who owned it, we did not know it's available or not. But on the 11th day after I stepped in on this land, we had registered the land in the name of the foundation and since then, there's been no looking back. So, I'm not all choice, I'm a slave. Blissful, that's all, but slave. Not everything is my choice. Not everything is nobody's choice. Please.
Barbara from the US asks, Shiva has so many conflicting qualities. He's the greatest dancer, but also sits absolutely still. He's the ultimate ascetic, but he's also married. What, Sadhguru, is the true quality of Shiva?
Well, this is a very disturbing issue of modern times, that everybody has to be something. You can't just be just like that. You got to be something. Everybody wants to nail you with one quality, but that's not the nature of a human being. One moment you're wonderful, another moment you're nasty. Hello? You do that or not? Another moment you're blissful, another moment you're a little pensive. So many things. A human being can be so many things, but we are always trying to nail one quality on somebody. Somebody is a good guy, somebody is a bad guy. I have never seen a good guy or a bad guy in my life. Everybody is capable of everything. Hello? But whole cultures are going about saying, these are bad guys, these are good guys. I said, you're bad guys, you okay? There is no such thing. This is the beauty of being human and this is the danger of being human, that you're working, one step out, you fall on your face. Right step, everything is fine. This is so around you and also within you, every moment. This is why consciousness. So Shiva, or you call someone Shiva because he has tasted his nothingness. He is not just tasted his good and bad, he has tasted his nothingness. You definitely cannot call nothingness good or bad. Well, some people will name that also, nothing is bad, I want to be something. Well, if you are something, you become a quantity. If you become nothing, you become universal and eternal. Nothing means you must understand this by putting a hyphen between no and thing. You are not a thing. Are you a thing? You are not a thing. If you're just identified with your bones and flesh, you're a thing. But little more fire of life is happening within you. We can't call you a thing anymore. Hello? We can't call you a thing anymore because this is life. So Shiva is exuberant life. You cannot contain him to any particular value, to any particular quality, to this little one You cannot contain him to this or that. He is capable of being everything. Well, even you are, but you nail your things on one thing or the other. It's time to unhinge yourself. This doesn't mean you will go wild, no. If your humanity is absent, or I don't know, you put it in a trash can, then you'll have to carry the burden of morality on your head. If your humanity is overflowing, you don't need the burden of morality on your head. That is the story of Shiva. He is clearly telling you, he is a living human being. He is not made of a bunch of morals and values and ethics. His humanity is overflowing.